Welcome to Hometown Heroes. This is Rick Irving with my co-host Mary Staffeld.
Good
And
morning.
today we have the honor of having an Army veteran, Cody Turner. So Cody, welcome to Hometown Heroes.
Glad for being here, Rick. Appreciate y'all having me.
I hope you're having a good pre-Christmas time and that getting all your shopping done.
Oh yeah. They've made it easy these days.
We've had a lot of Christmas
You can do
events
it
going on.
online, or you can do gift cards and make it really easy.
Yeah, I can do that, or just have my wife get what she wants, and then I'll wrap it and maybe
There
get her
you
something on the side that she don't know about.
And does she get what you want, or do you just do like I do and just go get what I want?
No, she knows pretty much what I want, so she's typically is pretty good at that. It's
And
not
so,
something I'm into, so it's not that hard of a.
but you like to hunt and do a lot of outdoor stuff, so
I do. Yes, sir.
pretty easy to shop for you then.
Yeah, it's either if it doesn't have to do with hunting, running, family, outside of that, that's pretty much what I do. So
And you grew up in Fort Worth?
I grew up in Fort Worth. I grew up, if you're familiar with it, over there off of Beach Street next to the old Wayne Feeds building.
Yep.
If you're heading south, right across the railroad tracks, that first left is King Circle or King Oaks. I live down there.
Okay. Not far off the beach at all.
No, not far off at all.
And you went to Carter Riverside.
I did. So I went through all the Carters. Where I went through, was it Nathan Howe for elementary, and then I went to Carter Riverside Middle, and then I went to Carter Riverside High School.
And that's a good high school. A lot of history over there in Riverside.
There's a lot of history.
There used to be a lot of mom and pop shops over there. I worked off of Race Street right there. Is it 7 Points where Race, Belknap, and everything come together?
I think you're right.
Yeah. And I worked there at an office supply company back in the early 70s. And back then, it was like on every block there was some kind of mom and pop shop.
Right. I think they've redone it down there now.
Oh, yeah. It's really nice now. And you graduated from Carter Riverside, and what'd you do after you graduated?
So whenever I was in high school, I worked for throughout high school. I worked for Bean Electrical. It's an electrical company over here in Fort Worth, in the Forest Hill area. So I just cleaned the shop and did things like that. During the summer, weekends if I could work, and I did all that. So whenever I got out of high school, I did a short stint at a college. Like, I don't think I ever enrolled into college, but I went during the summer to do some football stuff. Ended up coming home, and I went to work for Bean Electrical full time.
Okay.
That was, short lived. After high school, I ended up joining the Army in 2001. So I graduated in 2000. Entered the Army in May of 2001. So
Ooh, right
Just
before. Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
Mary and I've had a few people that joined right before, and we've had a lot of people that joined after
Yeah.
9/11. So
Yep. So it was right before it went down.
and where'd you go to basic?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I was, I was a, pretty good kid in high school. I got in my fair share of trouble, but at that point in my life, going into the military was my best option, and so that's where I went.
And when 9/11 happened, where were you?
So I had just got home from basic training, from AIT actually, from Fort Benning, Georgia. I had just got home. I was home on leave. I think you get 2 weeks or a month before you go to your duty station. That's when that happened. Of course, my family and my friends, they all freaked out, thinking I'm going straight over, at that point. When I joined the military, I'd originally signed up for my first duty station to go to Korea. because I just knew that was going to be the hardest place to go to, that you could serve in the military as just a regular unit in the infantry. So I ended up going to Korea. When I got to Korea, I found out that I was not going to the hardest place in Korea. I actually got assigned to a unit called Tango Security Force. So it's tactical air, naval, ground operations. They're based out of Seoul, Korea. And we had to travel a little bit to get to this tunnel there in Korea, to where if we went to war and Korea went to war and North Korea attacked, everybody would fly into this tunnel system here, and then we just guarded it from there, and they ran outside of that. That's pretty much the extent of that. So I checked badges and did patrols and things of that nature around the place, and got off every other weekend. Got to do some pretty good training, and go from there. It was not the hardest place to go to, probably the funnest place to go to.
It's not the kind of Army thing that you thought it would be.
No.
Kind of thought you'd be out there training out in the field all the time and doing a lot of shooting and blowing up stuff. But
yep, and we got our fair share of that, but it was nothing like going up north, next to the DMZ or something like that. They were on pretty much lockdown up there, to my understanding, and had to follow a little different set of rules as I did.
So did you get to come home on leave while you were there, or did you just stay there the whole time?
I had the option to come home on leave, but I decided just to stay, because I think when they offered it, I think I was like 7 months in or something of that nature. And I was like, I think I'm just going to stick it out and get through it, and just come home at that point.
And so after you got out of Korea and you came home, you came home and you went to Fort Hood?
Yes, sir.
Cavalry now, but it was Fort Hood then.
Yeah. Yep. Changed the Fort, Cavalry?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what kind of unit were you in at Fort Hood?
So at Fort Hood, I was in a mechanized infantry unit, Charlie Company 19. And I did several things there. I was primarily a dismount from a Bradley, but I did do some driving and things of that nature in the Bradley, which that was fun, but just not my forte.
Now, dismount, what's a dismount? Is that just the guys that ride along and get off to
Correct.
fight and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, ride in the back of the Humvee or what have you, or if we're traveling in Bradleys or Humvees or what have you.
Okay. But there's a lot of field exercises at Fort Hood.
We did
more than you had in Korea.
Absolutely. Yeah. We definitely go to the field at Fort Hood and, spend a couple weeks, month out there at times, and do all the training stuff that goes along with that.
It was close to home.
People know, Rick, how big Fort Hood is. So you say you go out there and they're thinking, typical base. Where are you going to go for 2 weeks to a month? That base is massive.
It's one of the largest Army bases.
Yeah, because I lived in Waco for 14 years, and I ran the restaurants. I was area director over the Killeen, Copperas Cove, Temple, Waco, for Applebee's. And that base spanned from doggone, Killeen to Copperas Cove to Gates. That sucker is massive. You could get lost out there for a month.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Applebee's was our go-to. So
was it really?
Yeah.
It was the busiest It was the busiest Applebee's in the company at the time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy busy.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge base, and I probably didn't see all of it when I was there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because when you're out in the field out there, it's like being out. Like you got to have MREs or however they're feeding you, whether they have a kitchen out there or what they're doing, but you're actually like, no crap, you're not like just going a block down the road to go to the chow hall, right?
Yeah, you're going out there a bit.
Yeah,
you're out in the field for sure, no doubt. So those were always fun exercises. I enjoyed those for sure.
And you got to come home every other weekend or so when you weren't out in the field, or?
Yeah, so it was, I'm trying to remember. I mean, there wasn't many times, unless we're in the field. Typically, we would get off on the weekends to where we could travel home if we wanted to. And I lived there in Fort Worth, so it's just, a 2.5 hour drive for me. So it wasn't bad to come home on the weekends if I wanted to.
Yeah, I was stationed at Fort Sill a couple of times, and that was close to home. It's just take a couple of hours to get here, and so I didn't get homesick too much.
True, true. Yeah, there was a relief coming from, Korea to Fort Hood, being closer to home for sure.
And how long were you at Fort Hood before you got deployed?
I'd say 2 years. I signed up for 3 years. And coming up,
That means that, hey, we're going to keep you.
We're going to keep you. Yeah, we're going to keep you. And so I had no issues with that, right? Because I served with these guys, I trained with these guys, and I wanted to go. That's why I originally signed up, right, to defend my country. And the opportunity to present itself, and I was able to go and do what I did.
Whenever they did that stop loss, is it they say, okay, we're going to keep you another 8 months or a year, or is it indefinitely? Do they give you a time that?
I'm trying to think back on that, Rick, and it seems like they stop lost me for a year. At that point, like they set those down. Now, whenever I got out, I think my time in service was actually 3 years and 7 months total time in. So something happened where I didn't serve that full year.
Yeah.
At Fort Hood on the stop loss.
But you did get to go with the guys you've been training with.
Yes, sir. I did 100%.
Did y'all take your equipment over there, or did you just pick up equipment in the country?
There's some tough questions. We took equipment. I think we took quite a bit of equipment. Some of it was there, but we did take. Yeah, because whenever I flew into Kuwait, or when I got to Kuwait, I actually carpooled instead of flying into Baghdad. I rode with a tanker or whatnot as security coming into Baghdad. So, we're bringing in vehicles and tankers and all that stuff. We're going now. The FOB was already established when we got there. FOB headhunter. I forgot who we were relieving at the time, but there had already been a unit on site.
And the war had been going on for a while before you went over there. I mean, we had Afghanistan going.
Yep.
And then Iraq. And how did you feel whenever you found out you were going to go? Were you kind of excited or scared, or just had mixed emotion? Or
I had mixed emotions. I think I was excited for sure. Right, had no idea what to expect. There was probably a little nervous factor to it, and that never really set in until I got to Baghdad. Really, is whenever it set in, and like, oh, this is real. This ain't a joke, So we were actually, when we got into the FOB there, we'd come in. It was nighttime. I remember. We're like, okay, where are we sleeping? They're like, and they had tents out there, and they had like a building, and we're inside a compound. They're like, man, y'all new guys, y'all just go find a place to sleep, in a tent, or go get underneath y'all sleeping outside. And I'm like, we're not sleeping outside. That's, they're not going to let us sleep outside. And then mortars started coming. And so everybody is scared, you know what I'm saying? Because
that was the first night you came under attack?
Yeah, and I don't know that they ever even hit in the FOB, but we heard them, and everybody's like, get down, it's like, okay. Come to find out, if you can hear them, more than likely you ain't going to get hit by it. So that was good to know.
But you didn't know that at the time.
No idea. So that was an eye-awakening experience for sure.
Especially the first day or first night.
Well, yeah, we had no idea what to expect. And it started from there.
And so whenever you started with your unit over there, did you start going out on patrols pretty quick, or?
We did. We piggybacked with the unit that was there, and then we went into the green zone and did things there, to kind of get ourselves acclimated with the area. how this was supposed to go, and they kind of trained us up so they could leave. And eventually that happened, and then we took over, from that point. And we were, I don't know how long we were there, but then we got, I think it's 153 National Guard out of Arkansas ended up coming down and joining forces with us. And that was kind of crazy to see how all that went down, so it's, they were a reserve unit, I believe is what they were, a reserve. So they were coming from all different walks of life coming into combat. I can only imagine how they were feeling.
Yeah, because the reserves didn't get used too much for years and years. It was just like, hey, a weekend every month and a couple of weeks every summer. But then all of a sudden, all the reserve units started getting pulled in, and they had to go do what they've been training for. And I know Mary was in the reserves, and you went on a lot of deployments, didn't you, Mary?
Yeah, well, on the one to Kuwait, I was with the security forces, and we had Marines with us as well. And we had reserve guard and active duty. But what we had was our reserve members of our unit and the other three that we combined with. Most of them in the civilian life were police officers, SWAT officers, federal law enforcement officers. So when we looked at training, which is obviously for the Army, I think you guys just do a better job with your security forces. But for us, when we compared the training and the abilities of our reservists to the active duty who just checked IDs at the gate before this, our guys they had encountered far more hazardous duty than the active duty component had at that point. So it was really interesting to hear the difference in, because a lot of people would make those comments when we went to El Paso. We did our training there, and you've probably been out there to that training location. And when we spent our 3.5 weeks out there, it was shocking at how much more the reservists knew because of their background. They were far superior to the active duty in a lot of cases.
Oh, I imagine in that situation for sure.
Yeah.
For
Because
sure.
we had a few active duty people try to bow up, and one of the chiefs said, "Let me tell you something. You see that guy over there? He's Dallas SWAT. You see that guy over there? He's Border Patrol. You see that guy over there? He's San Antonio gang unit." I mean, you're talking, they saw more stuff in a month than the active duties guys saw in their entire career.
Oh, I imagine.
Crazy. But it's interesting to see as a first sergeant, because I was never security forces. So to see what you guys did, and you were doing similar things as to what we were training for, but to see it, and my hat's off to you guys. You were not in a pretty place, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, and I never really thought about it that way. They may have had a leg up, versus the active being in those different units like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that, because at the end of the day, we were all green to it.
Yeah.
No matter if I was Cody from Fort Hood that's been in the Army for 2.5 years, or I'm Steve from Arkansas that's a pig farmer for 15 years. When it comes to the battle, where I may have a little bit leg up because of the training, but not
right.
I still haven't been in an active war zone, I guess.
You haven't been in a firefight, but the Army training was definitely far superior, no doubt, for the average defender. No doubt, your training is so spot on. It's really good.
Well, and the different branches have different things they do. Mm-hmm. And so, the Air Force is superior in a lot of ways. The Marines, they're superior in a lot of different ways. And the Navy, that they do their thing. But whenever it comes to combat, and then you get all the special forces from the Navy and the Air Force, the combat controllers like we've had on from the Air Force, they're out there doing the same kind of fighting, just doing their little part to bring it all together. So,
Yep. Yep.
and so this is how you looked
What's
whenever
that?
you were. Just some of the.
Yeah. So that's Sergeant Jack Hennessy there. He was a KIA over there in
This fellow was.
that guy was too, Sergeant Prater. He was, he actually deceased, in a couple deployments later.
Oh my!
But he was injured with me in that same battle that I was in, same attack.
And then this young man here, he was.
Yeah, he was that Sergeant Jack T. Hennessy. He was shot by a Iraqi police, to my understanding, that was shooting in the wrong direction. You're taking fire on the south and you're on the north end. You don't fire from the north end to the south end, right across all your buddies.
So it's a friendly fire.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
My goodness.
Yep. And then that's just I don't have many pictures from over there. I didn't have a camera, I don't guess, but this was just on a little patrol or what have you there.
And you would go in like this with a patrol about that size and go house to house, knocking on doors, talking to people sometime, or
just doing presence patrols and things of that nature. Of course, when we went and did like a raid or mission or something like that, we had a lot more folks than that. This one actually may have been taken in the green zone, to be honest with you. So I don't know that we'd been standing around like that. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But yeah, we would. That was not abnormal. The day that we got hit, I think we're down there with far too less of people.
And you had been there about 5 months doing just regular patrols all the time.
Yeah, patrols, missions, raids, things of that nature. We would, get intel from special forces or whoever, to go get this guy in this house. And then that's what we'd try and go do, and probably 95% of the time it was the wrong house or, it was a bad lead or something like that. But I think that was pretty standard across the board.
So a lot of them, some of them weren't knock and talks. Some of them were going in and trying to get the bad guys out.
Yeah.
So would you get into some gunfights and things whenever you did that?
Yeah, we didn't get into too many like busting down doors, what I mean? But we're definitely involved in battles and stuff like that out on the streets, and some of them worse than others, grenades. We're always getting hit with grenades and things of that nature. People would, throw them off the houses and stuff like that, because they were in control of, like one battle, they're in control of the lights. So they could you have on your night vision, they can turn the lights on, they can turn the lights off. So you're constantly, figuring that out. And, they sleep on the rooftops, a lot of them. So you just don't really know where your enemy's at that point. It can get very confusing, I guess, per se. And then the rules of engagement, they changed a time or two. So you had to deal with that part of it as well.
And then you probably had some of your guys get hurt. Did you have some of them while you were out there get killed in action?
We had a couple that deceased while I was actually out there, but not 50 or not a whole bunch. We've lost way more to suicide and things like that than we actually did overseas. So, and a lot of people that I served with, they stayed in the military, and some of them, deceased, on their second, third, fourth deployment, which is wild, to make it that far. And I'm sure, there's been people that deployed a lot more than that, but I've heard some people that, spent 6 or 7 years over there. I couldn't imagine.
And while you were over there, you got a chance to come home on leave, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've been there about 5 months whenever you came home?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. 4 and a half.
And what'd you do? Something happened whenever you came home.
It did. So right before I left to go to Iraq, I had, of course, went out partying and things of that nature, right, getting ready to leave. And I had met this woman at a bar, and I chased her out. And long story short, we kind of hit it off, and she really didn't have much to do with me at that time, what I was looking for. And we stayed, connected. And I told her that I was a Fort Worth police officer. And I was just, what have you. And I think I was actually using my dad's phone at the time because I had turned mine off. So I lied to her for about 2 weeks and played it off like this was really who I was. And anyhow, we deploy, and I'm in Kuwait, and my buddy says, man, you need to stop being a little sister, and you need to call her and tell her the truth about who you are and what you do. And so I did do that in Kuwait. And she was shocked, of course, but she continued to write me and send me pictures and gifts and phone calls when I could take them. And then when I got drawn to go on leave, I ended up getting engaged to her. So the knowing each other for an extended period of time wasn't there. So everybody thought we were crazy, of course. And then also, too, I knew I was coming back to Iraq and I was going to be gone another, 5 to 6 months, whatever it was. Lo and behold, my first mission back is whenever I got injured. So it was like, got back in country, got injured. Now it's now I'm heading back home. Because my injuries were too extent for me to stay there.
What happened whenever you got injured?
So we were just out on a normal patrol. It was in the morning, and I want to say it was around 9 o'clock or something. And we're just doing like a presence patrol, hearts and minds, knocking on doors, talking to people. How are you doing? Everything going okay? Make sure they weren't getting messed with. And we started noticing that, people started locking up their doors and saying it was lunchtime, and the streets got pretty bare. Said, well, it's probably time for us to get out of here. Told the LT, hey, don't got enough people. Our OP can't see us. Our QRF can't get to us quick enough.
What's your QRF? Quick Response Force or something?
Quick Reaction Force, okay. Yes, sir. And then OP would be your observation point, so your overwatch. So they're supposed to be seeing you maneuver, right, and catching people sneaking up on you and things of that nature. But they didn't have a good read on our position. But shortly after that, that's whenever the shit hit the fan at that point. And we were on Talil Square, I believe it is where the action took place there near Haifa Street. I may have to fact check me on that one because it's been a while. But anyhow, so we got attacked, and then we fought, and a couple people got really injured. And as they were being transported back, we're dragging them back, putting them in the Humvee, and that's whenever they targeted the Humvee that we're loading them in, and sent several grenades over in that area, and that's whenever I got injured. So I do remember just waking up, making sure I had on all my stuff, and all my limbs were there, and I noticed at that point I was bleeding. Adrenaline's running through you, and I know, so any kind of pain factor or anything like that hasn't set in.
So you were pretty close to where the grenade actually detonated.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And blew you back.
Yep. So I feel like I'm, pretty lucky, because there were some people that come out with a lot worse injuries than I did at that point. But I was able to pull myself together and get inside of a little shop right there and apply first aid. And then I was able to get back out into the fight. And it was minutes or seconds after that's when QRF showed up. Once they showed up, we're able to get everybody into vehicles and stuff. That way we could start making our exfil out of there towards the hospital. That was a pretty quick ride. It seemed like people wanted to get out of our way at that point.
So you had several, besides yourself, there were several guys that were injured.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it was probably it was myself, Prater and a gentleman by the name of Tim No-Go. He had the worst injuries. He about lost his life. He blew most of the top of his head off, but he was able to, surgeries. I mean, years of surgeries, and he was able to get through it. Still battling it, but
Do you still keep up with him? You
I
see
still
him?
keep up with him from time to time. Not as like I should, but I do keep up with him. He's actually doing pretty good. And he's medically retired. He does a lot of things with veterans as far as doing like fishing trips and stuff like that. He's deeply enrooted into that, and some nonprofits as well. And so he does those things, and just one day at a time. His struggles are different than mine and others. So he seems to be battling them pretty good though.
Now, the other guy that you talked about that got injured, is he the guy that later got killed in action, or is that a different guy?
No, that is the guy. So Sergeant Prater, he got injured there as well. But he I think it was in 05, I think, is whenever he got KIA in Iraq from a car bomb. Took out, yeah, I'm almost certain that was 05.
So then you all got transported to a hospital in Iraq, and then you later went on to some other hospitals, correct?
Yes. So we drove in there to the hospital there in Iraq, and then from there, I was there. I want to say a couple of days maybe, and they flew me via Black Hawk at night to Balad, which was more of a tent-like hospital, just like a stopping point, I believe. I was in there for a day or two, and then from there, they bused us somewhere. I don't remember where. Maybe we flew out of Kuwait. I can't remember, but from there we went to Germany, and I was at Germany for several days, maybe a week, and then from there we went. I want to say we went to Walter Reed and then back to Fort Hood.
Okay, so it took a little while to get back, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and I think a lot of it was probably with the people that I was traveling with were a little more unstable than I was. So I had to get everything right for everybody to get back home. So, because they were just feeding me large amounts of morphine and all that stuff. It's crazy on how much of that stuff they give it.
It's kind of a fog for the whole time, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Because I would make some crazy phone calls, of course, to my family and my fiance there in Germany, and they'd be like, "Can you call me back tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yep, I'll try again."
So whenever you came back to Fort Hood, was your family there to greet you, or was it?
My family was there. I remember getting off the bird and coming into the hospital, and my family being there, my immediate family. I signed some paperwork, and at that point, they sent me on my way and gave me, a month off. I believe it was, so that I was able to come back to my home and, spend some good time with family and friends.
And you were engaged then, right?
I was what?
You were already engaged to get married?
Sir. Yes, sir. I was engaged at that point. Yep. To my beautiful bride of coming up on 20 years. Yep. So.
And so when did you actually?
Supposed to work. No one thought it was supposed to work, but it did.
Still working. That's
still working. She's a tough one, though. I give her that. And I've taken that woman through some ups and downs, I can assure you.
Yeah, I got married a few years ago, and they didn't think it'd work. I think we're coming up on about 53 years, so you got another 30 or so before.
Yeah, I'm still in the beginning stages.
Yeah, you're just a newlywed.
You're just a baby.
Oh man, I just had 2 more. I can tell you that.
So how was your transition after you got out of the Army?
My transition. Well, I was at Fort Hood for a little bit longer after that doing rear D. Didn't really like that too much. It was time for me to go at that point.
Yeah.
So I got out of the military, and I really didn't know what to do at that point, right? Because I'd been in the military. The only other place I worked was at Bean, during the summer and just here and there. But I ended up going back to work for Bean, and that's where I work today. So I believe that was a good move. It was kind of crazy transitioning from, the military, just coming from overseas to, just a regular job here in town. We really didn't get much at that point, like training, like this is how you adjust over in the civilian world. There was really none of that. I think I sat through like a 10-minute class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like civilians when I first got off active duty back in '86. I left active duty and I was like, what is wrong with these people?
Oh, yes.
How to adjust. And there we didn't do anything back in the '80s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, you didn't get any transition prep whatsoever.
Probably none at all. Yeah.
None. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think ours was like very short, 10, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I was in 7.5 years and I got out. I went in at 18 and got out in '86. And I was like, heck with these people. What is wrong with them?
Right. Yeah. Something wrong with these civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think, I remember coming back and the first time on a job, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like big. When they're breaking up concrete, it goes pow and hits the concrete and breaks it. And that about scared me half to death, right? Just from explosions and things of that nature that, that you were part of overseas. Just things like that, large crowds, just your standard stuff, really got to me. And I was able to kind of move through that, okay. I used some coping mechanisms that probably weren't the best to deal with that. But, I ended up, fully getting out, starting my civilian life, making a family, had a kid. And then I got a letter in the mail and it said, Cody, you are being called back to active duty. Please report to Fort Benning, Georgia. And I'm like, for one, this is a joke, right? This don't really happen. I already served my time and I'm out. Well, I didn't realize when you actually sign for 6 years.
Right.
A thing called inactive reserves.
Right.
So I call them up and I'm like, this is a joke. And they're like, oh, no, this ain't a joke. Your plane ticket, you're going to Fort Benning. So I was like, okay. So I fly up there. Lo and behold, I'm married. I got kids. I'm disabled. Been in a war. Going back to Fort Benning, where it's an infantry school and all that stuff there, right? So now I'm being thrown back into the military to where, stand at parade rest, get your hands out of your pockets, things of that nature. That was kind of at first I was like, why am I even here? I was roomed with, younger kids that were eager beaver, they had no idea what they're about to get themselves into. But I was there for about a week, and then finally they realized, hey, this cat's, disabled. He don't need to deploy. So they sent me back.
Were you already listed as disabled? I mean, you had a disability that you were getting paid for by the VA, and
At that point, yes, sir.
they took you back in.
Yeah. So,
you can go back in depending on the percentage of the disability. But, then you have to look at the job that you're doing, and it wouldn't make sense for somebody in infantry to be in there that had a disability rating. So that doesn't make sense. But you can actually serve with a disability rating. It just has to be
a certain.
Depends on the disability. So.
And I'd heard that before, but I think mine was a little over what it probably should have been, maybe. But, at that point of my life, I was like, man, I just had a kid and I was willing, of course. did I want to go with somebody that I've never trained with, or no, not necessarily, right? Because they got to have my back, I got to have theirs. I'd like to know kind of who they are. But things happen for a reason, and I was sent home, and that closed the chapter on being recalled back into the military to go overseas at that time in my life. So that was kind of a awakening there for a minute. We even had a like going away party and all that good stuff. It's kind of crazy.
So, did you start getting involved with some veteran groups after that, or was it later on that you started getting involved? Because I know that you do a lot of things with one tribe.
Yes, sir.
And how did you get involved in one tribe?
So if you fast forward a lot of years, my son works at a taxidermy's office, and a gentleman by the name of Robert walked in there to talk with the owner, about taking some veterans maybe on a dove hunt or something of that nature. Is right around dove season of this year. And the gentleman, Eric, said, no, go talk to Barrett. He owns some land. His dad does. And so he went and talked to my son, Barrett. And then Barrett called me and asked me if it's okay. And I was like, shoot, yeah. So we hosted a dove hunt at my house for, we probably had 10 or 20 veterans there, I want to say. And that's where I was introduced to Jacob Schick, the leader of one tribe. And we just got to talking, and our paths kind of lined up a little bit together. Our vision was the same. So I just kind of embedded in with them, and I've been doing great things with them ever since. It's the best organization like that I've ever been a part of. Their heart's in it. Their intent's great. The people are good, and just the work that they do is awesome. And how many people we can reach out to and connect to and potentially change their lives and their, generational history, moving forward. Because, I know for me, there's a time in your life where like the bullshit got to stop and you got to make a change. Right.
Yeah.
And that can just keep going and going and going if there's not a precursor or something that jumps in there to change the direction of travel. And I believe that that's what we can do, change people's direction of travel, put them back on the right path. That way, they can live a life of prosperity and just freedom. What I mean by freedom, not, having riches or money running out your ears, just, freedom from yourself, happiness, true happiness. Because that's a lot of, that is something that a lot of people don't get to enjoy. I didn't enjoy it for many, many years myself. So it's just getting around these like-minded people and doing things for the right reason pays off. So I've done quite a few things with them since I've been with them, and many more to come. So.
And there's so many people that go to war and they don't have the physical scars, but then they've got the internal scars from the things they've been exposed to.
Correct.
And that's where one tribe really excels in helping people cope with the mental and the internal scars.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because your physical scars, they're physical scars. They heal up, they go away, they stay. They're a good conversational talking piece, right? It is what it is. But your mental scars, those are the ones that you can't see, you can't smell them, you can't hear them. Those are the ones that creep up on you, and those are the ones that get to. I don't know the exact numbers, but probably to, what do you want to say, 90% of the veterans that perish is probably by suicide or what have you in the military, than from actual war. And I've known many of people that have committed suicide, and you can't smell them, you can't hear them, and it's just all there. You would never even know that they were having issues. So,
and that's what, you can be around somebody all the time,
military,
and then all of a sudden they commit suicide, and you think, I didn't see those signs. I knew them, and I was close to them, and it comes as such a shock.
No, absolutely. And that's another thing that we do at One Tribe is we have trainings I think it's called QPR training, where you can identify um, you can identify things that may lead you to believe that that person's having those type of thoughts when, if you didn't go through that training, you might have never even seen the sign, So I think that is I have not actually been through that training yet. I'll be on the next one for sure, because I think it's very beneficial for people to go through those trainings if you could save somebody's life, I think now is whenever I need to be of service more than ever.
Yeah. And you do a lot of things in One Tribe with your family too, don't you?
I do. So all my kids are on board with it. Top right-hand corner there, that's Barrett. He's 18, about to be 19 in January. He's the one that's in EMT school, and he is doing taxidermy. He goes on runs with me. He don't like to run as much as I do, but you
run a lot.
Together and fish together. Very tight knitted. The boy on the left in the maroon shirt, that's Gunner. He's my basketball player and my hunter and fisherman as well. He does like to run, and he has ran some, up to 20-mile races with me. And then, of course, my wife there, she's the one that keeps us all together, no matter what. So if it wasn't for her, everything else around us probably wouldn't be there. And then the two little hardheads down there, they're surprises about 3 years ago, and they're just a ball of blessings. They are
and a ball of energy too.
Oh man, 9-0, always running.
That's a chore, just having two twins like that so young.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with One Tribe, is it's all family oriented. So there's not really any place that I'm going to go that I can't bring my kids and my family. And that's important to me, right? Because, we work enough, we do things enough that just having that family support around you is crucial, and that's how your kids learn and, what life's really about. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. That's my that's my father-in-law, my sister, my mother-in-law, my kids, my mom, right there in the middle, the short one. That was at a training or an event that me and Robert went to here in Fort Worth. I think it was in Arlington. It was a team building event for this company, a big pharmaceutical company. And we went and promoted One Tribe, talked about it, and played some games and had a chance to win, $25,000. We ended up, I think, with $3,000. We came in second, not first.
That's good. And Robert, he's about 3/4 over from the left in the white hat and the big beard.
Yep.
He's a big guy.
Yep.
And I went on a ride with him. We One Tribe was having their wind therapy where they do the motorcycle rally, mm-hmm. and they're going around the Metroplex. So Robert said, "Come with me, and we'll take pictures." So we would go past the motorcycles, and so we could stop and take pictures. But we go pretty fast. I mean, it was a ride I will always remember.
Yeah, but Robert, he can lay it down.
He's a good guy, and he's got a heart of gold.
I love him. Great guy.
There's some of your running there.
Yeah, I do a lot of running, and I try to bring my kids into it. Health and fitness is big into those are some of my good buddies there. Good into PTSD and things of that nature as far as recovery and things like that. It's been a big.
It's a good outlet.
Good outlet. Yeah, it's been a great outlet for me as far as
running is definitely a mental sport.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't care who you are, but the things that you've went through, anything, Go on a long, hard run, and you'll forget about every single bit of it, no matter how bad it is, and you'll only be concentrating about the pain that you're in at that point.
My longest are 6 miles these days.
6?
Yeah. I used to be a half marathoner, but
Hey, 6 that's good.
6 is better than nothing.
Are you in the area?
yeah.
Okay. So you have no excuse to not go to the 5Ks that we put on.
Yeah, I haven't done any races lately. I have this tendency to be super competitive, and I have a bulging disc in my neck, so I have to try to not do too much in the way of speed. But I'm considering doing one maybe the beginning of the year.
Hey, that'd be great. Yeah, maybe we could do it together.
Yeah, I'm sure you're way faster than me.
That's irrelevant. Yep.
Just ready when next June I'll turn 65. So you go up an age group. And
did you say 55?
65, and you got to live long enough to win your age group.
There you go.
I used to win some races, duathlons. I won several of those back in the day, but yeah, not so. I don't do it so much to compete anymore. It's just like you said to I used to write my college papers when I was running, 10 years ago. And because you go out and you get on the road and there's no phones, there's nobody messing with you. There's nothing but you and your thoughts.
That's it.
And
these are some of the guys that you served with, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. So the guy on the left, that's Randy Glass. Me and him were great buddies. He's actually the one that told me to stop being a sister and call my wife at the time. So much, I owe him a lot. Great friend, still keep up with him today. The guy on the to the left of me there, that's Matt. Great guy. Heavily into nonprofits of this nature. Great dad. Just a good dude. Adam there to the right of him, another great dude. He was police officer and clean on SWAT for many years, and I believe he retired, and then thinking he was going to get out of the game. Well, I think he got back into it a little bit. I'm unsure of what exactly he does now, but stand-up guy. Yeah, good guys.
It's hard to get that out of your system, isn't it?
I think so. You got to have some type of adrenaline dump.
Looks like your wife runs with you some too.
My wife does, but it's been a minute. Yeah, she's not much of a runner. But
this was just a few months ago out the stockyards for the tunnel for the tower. There was a lot of people from one tribe there.
Yeah, that was a great event. That's my support crew right there. I was out at Danman running a 50-miler.
50?
Yeah.
My goodness. And this is the place I go sometime, Beaver's Bend. This is at the dam, so really good fishing, but it's pretty rugged territory.
It can be. It can get cold.
It can indeed. There's a group from one tribe.
Yep. That was at the Tunnels for Towers, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Yep, that's all of us there. That was at the golf tournament.
This was a fun golf tournament. I took the world's greatest grandson named Sterling, and he must have shot that gun 10 times with a golf ball. So,
yeah, that was pretty cool. I've never seen nothing like that before, to be honest with you.
I never have seen a gun like that. Sometimes they'll have a little air compressor, but
right.
But that's one of my favorite pictures of you, and standing there looking out with the one tribe shirt. And it's a great organization, and there's their website, onetribefoundation.org. They can visit that to get more information. And they're located in Euless. Their offices are in Euless. They have a lot of classes there, and then they do a lot of other activities, like the wind therapy, and have some activities for the kids. Because under one tribe, you have that Buck Kern runs. It's called, is it First Watch, or
No, yeah, so he has a
It's
so
something to watch.
yeah, you got the tribal council, right? And then you got the watch program, which
Yeah.
is for kids, White Star families, Gold Star families. And then you have the wind therapy program, the outdoor program, um, and the recovery program. I think I already named wind therapy. I don't know that I'm missing anything there. So multiple programs within the organization that can, so pretty much any kind of thing that you need help with or something, we got that covered in one form or fashion. So there should be no reason that you don't reach out and get help. Sometimes that's the hardest part though, is to pick up the phone and make that phone call.
And sometimes it's the spouse or partner or family member that sometimes finds out about organizations like this and makes the phone call and gets their loved one engaged in some of the programs. So
Yep, correct. Yeah, and I think that's great because, like like I was saying, sometimes that all you need is that person that loves you to reach out and find you help, and then you just have to be willing to make that call or step into that office or whatnot, and that could set you on your way to healing for sure. Yeah, and I'm just so grateful to be tied to One Tribe now and to see where this goes. And
because working with organizations like that, uh, you're helping people, but in turn, it's kind of fueling you and helping you to internally. I think
100%.
because you get the satisfaction of being with other veterans and first responders and people that have shared the experiences that you've shared, and I think that it really fills your cup.
100%. I think that the benefit that I get from it is just as much, if not more, than what they get from of it. And I think that's just a cycle, how that goes and gets repeated. Yeah, I would say 100%. I get so much out of it. I always tell people, what makes you the most happy? If I went out and bought you a $150,000 truck, you're going to be happy and you're going to drive it and you're going to love it, but it's going to fade, right? The newness will wear off and it'll just be a truck. But helping somebody, the feeling that I personally get from that, you cannot replace that with anything monetary or physical or anything of that nature. It's just something that fills that cup, like you said, Rick, and there's no replacement for it. And I've been searching a long time to find a place like that I can fit in and be a service and help community and what have you. And it looks like I found that spot. Just excited to see where it goes from here and try to keep things balanced as much as possible. I don't know that there's such thing, but
being able to take your family and do things as a family group is good too, because then they get to meet the people that you're helping, and then
100%.
they see how you're serving the community, and one of these days you're going to start seeing them copy what you're doing and serving their community. So
100%, 100%. I think that's crucial. I think that's a lost art these days, as far as people getting their family involved in things like that, and doing things as a family. Because to me, that's somebody asked me the other day what my greatest fear was, and I said, well, I'm not scared of much of anything, right? I'm not in control of anything other than myself. But what scares me the most is when I pass away and somebody asks my kids what kind of dad I was, for them to have a hard time answering that. So I don't want to be the dad that just woke up, went to work, come home, supported his family, gave them nice stuff. I want them to see that I actually made a difference in the world, whatever that may be. And for me, it's helping, veterans, first responders, military, people in general. You don't even have to have wore a uniform before. If you're struggling with something and need help, you need help, right? If you have PTSD, to say that you that's never been to war can't have PTSD. No, that's wrong. You could have lost a loved one or been in a tragic accident, and it may be worse than what I have. So you can't disregard those people or shun them off because they need help too. So just realizing that and figuring out how that works is crucial. I'm just, it's just the beginning for me. So I'm just eager to see where it goes.
I'm glad you're at the place you are with that organization and with yourself and with your family, because so many times people that have been through things start on that journey that's the wrong path, and it's hard to get the course corrected sometime.
It is. My course hasn't always been straight and narrow. Thank goodness I was able to figure out how to get back on that path, and it wasn't on my own doings. It was, from people that love me, support me, and the one that I call God. He's the one that takes care of all my stuff. So it took me a long time to realize that, but once you do, it's kind of sets you free a little bit.
It is.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Well, Cody, we appreciate you being with us today, and we enjoyed walking a little bit along the path of your journey and finding out more about you. And seeing a Fort Worth guy that grew up, went away, and fought a war and came back, and is helping other people. So,
yes, sir. I'm glad to be here, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again soon, because we ran into each other just a couple of months ago at the cloud-covered streets.
Yes. Yep.
I was kind of shocked because I thought, that's Cody.
Yeah, what's he doing here? Yeah. We'll attend that event with some friends that always purchase a table there, and that's always a good time.
It is. It's a good time, and it benefits our homeless people. Homeless.
100%. And they're doing things for the homeless that, after a long day for me, a good shower and brushing my teeth feels good. I can only imagine, 2 or 3 a month, how that feels for them. So they're touching people's lives. It's a great organization.
They've got it, Mary. They've got a huge trailer that's got showers. It's got laundry, washer dryers. They give them new clothes and all the tall trees, and have places where they can get haircuts and kind of fix them up and shine them up a little bit and give them some hope.
Yep, pretty awesome.
It is. Well, Cody, keep up the good fight.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rick. I appreciate you having me on. And very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
And I hope to be back on another day.
I do too. I hope to.
Doing the present wrap on tomorrow, but we'll see you at another event, I'm sure.
I hope so. I'm planning on it.
Yeah, and I got your cell phone number too, so you may be getting a call from
give me a holler. Give me a holler. Oh, and you might come out to our lunch and roll call. We have about 500 veterans that show up every month, and
oh wow,
we'll have another one in January. We have it at Willow Park now, but we'll move back to West Fort Worth another 6 months or so, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. Hit me up and send me the details, and I'd like to check it out.
Okay. Hug those boys for me, and we'll see you at the next time the tribe meets at One Tribe.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Rick, and you have a good rest of your day. You
and
too,
go Army. Go Army. They'll beat Navy this week.
Not the Marines. Jake is reading this, not the Marines.
We'll see you later, Cody. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Mary.
Oh.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir.
Another great American.
Yep, they're everywhere. You just have to look.
And I think our friend Don, is he back in town?
He'll be back today. He's traveling.
I saw some pictures. He was looking a little tired, but at 99.
Wait, no, that was yesterday.
I think it was yesterday they came back.
Yeah, they were traveling yesterday. Today,
I think that
I can't keep track of my days.
Yeah, I think that the kids from Bridge to History are still over there. They may be coming back today. I'm not sure what their schedule is, but I've
Yeah.
seen some things that where it looked like they were still doing some history training over there with Liberty and her group.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to give Don a call, and usually the day after he gets back from a trip, he'll call me first thing, but he must be resting up because he hasn't called yet. So I know he left his phone here when he went over. So um, that was probably a wise decision. He didn't need to try to keep track of that. But yeah, they should be back, and I'm sure that they had a really great time. It was a tough time at the lunch on Friday because we had to talk about the loss of three of our special World War II veterans, and two of them being our oldest two, the 104-year-olds. And we've got services coming up this Saturday at St. Stephen's in Weatherford at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Bill Kelly. And then we'll be announcing the details of Bill McIntyre's services. They'll be next week. So we've got all that coming up. But those were the tougher parts of the luncheon, and
Yeah,
the losses that we've had recently. But we still have a lot of very special people out there with us, and we need to take advantage of spending moments with them whenever we can. Like Don Graves and Al Chatwin just coming back from the Pearl Harbor commemoration, and special men in our midst.
yeah. We probably need to get. Let's try to get those guys together someplace. Like Jack Stowe and Al and Don and some other World War II veterans, because I have a picture of some of those veterans, and there was four of them. There was Fisk Hanley and Dwayne.
Joe's.
Yes,
Yeah.
and what's his name? But anyway, there was
Did you
four of them.
Shepherd
Yeah, there were four of them.
was always out.
We were kind of celebrating, I think, Dwayne's birthday, and for a long time, Bill was the last man standing, and now they're all gone. And that was only 5 years ago that we had them together. So let's make a point to do that, because
Absolutely.
I think I was telling you that I kept saying I need to go see Bill. I need to go see Bill and Bill McIntyre, and I didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then it's too late now. And all we have with those guys are the memories. So, and we cherish those memories. So.
Absolutely.
And we're so blessed to be able to be part of their life. And roll call is certainly a highlight in their lives. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing we heard from all three of the families was how much they loved coming to the luncheons, and how special it was because they got to get together with their buddies and share stories and tell stories, and it is really very special. And you get to see that interaction with the younger vets or the civilians. In a lot of cases, the volunteers. In some cases, those are students. And you watch those interactions, and they're really very special. So we'll have to do that. Get John Wilhite, Jack Stowe. Jack Stowe was in D.C. on an honor flight, so he wasn't there.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, "Where's Jack?"
Yeah, he was on an honor flight to D.C. So we had but we had Charlie, and we had Carlisle, we had Bill Hubbard. We still had several of them there. We were just missing the ones that are always there and everybody knows, right? Yeah. So
and we've got to get some more of those 104-year-old guys up there. So
yeah,
they need to eat their Wheaties and take their vitamins. So
yeah, for sure.
We've had a few of our friends. Thomas, I've seen him about 3 times, 4 times in the last week. He's
busy.
He's
week.
one of those guys that stays pretty busy. And then we have Chris, and she stays busy.
Yeah.
Every time I turn around at an event, she'll be there. So
Everywhere. Yep. Taking pictures, being everywhere.
yeah. And then Megan Cruz Miller said, "Morning all." Good morning, Megan.
Yeah.
And then Susan Turner, she gave us I don't know what that is, but
Well, that's
those
probably
emojis.
our losses.
Yeah,
Yeah. I will.
yeah,
That
it is.
three for the 3 losses.
But it's that's part of the what we do is love on those vets, and the time comes whenever they're you know getting old, and it's just part of
Yeah.
the life we have at roll call.
Yeah. It's a hard part of it, right?
That is.
Yeah.
This Saturday is Larry's Kids, Larry O'Neill with Fort Worth Memories Museum. It's still not too late to donate. You can. They're still taking bikes, and I know that he's got over 1,000 bikes this year.
That's great.
That's a lot of bicycles, and you can go to this QR code or go to Larry's Bikes or Larry's Kids. I think it's .com but if you go to the QR code, you can find out how to support that. Wreaths Across America is Saturday. The National Cemetery, that's the big one. They have about, I think, 50,000 wreaths they're going to put out. I never have been to the National Cemetery. I like to go to the smaller cemeteries at Acton Cemetery. The DAR from Granbury, our friend Kathy Hanlon, is very involved with that, the Wreaths Across America there. I'll be at Pioneers Rest Cemetery, the oldest cemetery in Fort Worth, for their laying of the wreaths. So get out there and support those cemeteries where they lay the wreaths on the veterans' graves. There's still plenty of tickets for free for veterans and military for the Armed Forces Bowl game on the 27th.
Yeah, and they announced who's going.
They did indeed.
Woohoo!
Navy and OU, so that ought to be a good game.
Yeah, I'll bet that's going to be a great game.
There'll probably be a pretty big crowd. That close to Oklahoma. I think a lot of people come down for that.
No doubt.
So that'll be a good game. Hometown Heroes podcast. You can go to our channel to watch the podcast we just had and to watch podcasts we've had in this past. And does Dwayne still have some beds available for his trip?
As far as I know, but I haven't got a chance to ask him if he's filled those up or not.
Okay.
But last I heard, it's been more than a week, so some of them may be taken by now. But he did have the 1 week in June next year, and then the 1 week in September that he had 1 or 2 rooms for. So I'll have to follow up with him before we come on next week, so we know for sure.
This is the Return to D-Day Beaches. This is where our friend Dwayne Lee takes people, takes a small group. Yep. So it's really an intimate deal where you can really learn a lot about history over there.
Yeah.
Of course, roll call. This is kind of the long stretch between our early December and our late January. You almost start feeling like, it should be this week, but then we still got a month to go. But in January, who are we going to have?
January, oh my gosh. Now his name is escaping me. Hey, hold that thought. I'm going to pull it up here and look at it. Golly, that bothers me when I can't remember. This getting old thing really stinks. It is, as soon as I see it, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's right. Carl Monger.
Okay.
Yep.
He does a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, so it'll be good. And, we had been doing, in January, we had been doing a Vietnam veteran pinning. So we would have a Vietnam vet. Carl, of course, is more recent. He served more recently, but he's with the Gallant Few. And, but we decided that since this is the last year for the 50th commemoration, the pinning that, supposed to end this year or in 2025, that we would do the final Vietnam veteran pinning official ceremony at our March luncheon, and we'll have a Vietnam veteran speak at that particular luncheon. So we're working on who that's going to be.
That's good.
Yeah, but that's kind of where we made a little change from where we usually were. But yeah, the fourth Friday in January, I believe that's the 24th. And that will be our next luncheon. And yeah, it's a longer stretch between the two. It's kind of like in the summer, we have a stretch between June and August. But when we come back together in January, people, that will be the hottest ticket in town, because what happens is people miss it so much that everybody is clamoring. And so it'll be gone. The seats will be gone in 3 days.
They go fast, don't they? And then we just had Holidays and Heroes, the gathering of the gifts Saturday night at Carrie and Bob's house. And then on Sunday, we had the giving of the gifts at NASJRB. Had a great crowd. It looked like there was thousands of presents out there. About over 160 people, or 60 families of military families received gifts. Santa didn't get to skydive this year. It was kind of overcast, so. But that's just, for all the little kids out there, he can ride in his sleigh with his reindeers when it's overcast, but he just can't skydive when he's overcast.
Yeah, not a good idea to skydive.
Not a good idea at all. And of course, Holidays and Heroes said good morning today, so we're glad they're out there watching. They do a lot of great stuff for our military, and ended a great year with helping our military. Fort Worth Air Power Council, we had our Christmas party last week, so it's been a busy week. Air Power Foundation, they help with Holidays and Heroes, along with the Fort Worth Air Power Council and a lot of other great sponsors. So a lot of great things and great organizations out there.
Right.
Mary, it's been a good hour or so, and got to meet Cody and learn a little bit about him, and talk some more about One Tribe Foundation and the things they do. So.
Yep, absolutely. Great organization for sure.
Great organization for sure. Well, I will see you somewhere along the way.
All right, my friend.
If not before next week, we might run into each other, but let's do indeed get those World War II guys together.
Yep, absolutely. We got to do it.
Well, thank everybody out there for watching and being a part of this Hometown Heroes, and we'll see you next week.